Hello, all, and welcome to Talkin Bengals. Bernsey here, Nick is here, Josh is here, and we are doing an emergency podcast this offseason. Why? Because we made some money moves. It's a pretty exciting day, pretty exciting weekend. Nick, how we feeling?
I feel like the Bengals just made it rain on two players. That's what I feel like.
All right, Josh.
Backed up the friggin' Brinks truck and just said, "Bring it on."
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's start it off here. Josh, I'm going to let you take Jamar on this one. 4 years, 161 million, highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, and earning roughly about 40.5 million. Take us away, man.
Did we really expect anything else? I mean, that's what they said they were going to do. That's what they did. They just won up the the defensive line.
Miles Garrett.
Yeah, Miles
Miles
Garrett.
Garrett.
I just drew a blank. Yeah, they just one upped him just by a little bit, not that much, not even a million. One upped him. They just one upped him a little bit. The only thing we got to help him with is get him some Cincinnati cuisine. I mean, you say the food's not that good. Just go out a little bit. Go to Skyline.
Well, him and Joe are apparently not big Skyline guys, but that's okay. In due time. It's an acquired taste. The more you're around Cincinnati, the more you're going to enjoy it. All right, Nick, let's go to wide receiver 1A, as Jamar liked to say it, and talk about T. 4 years, 115 million.
I mean, we essentially have two wide receiver ones. You can't even say 1A, 1B, because essentially you have Jamar Chase, who's breakout speed, agility, just amazing talent. And then you have T. Higgins, who just makes spectacular plays every single time he's on the field. Just out of nowhere, he deserves every penny they gave him, to be quite honest with you. I was part of the people I was definitely kind of cautiously optimistic that the Bengals would actually get a deal done with T because, it's the Bengals, right? We don't really have a big history of paying players that are not a quarterback.
True.
I mean, even with Ocho Cinco, didn't really break the bank too much when we paid him. But, pay Joe, pay Jamar, pay T. There is somebody left with a 4-letter first name and a fairly long last name that starts with Hendricks and ends with Son, that needs to get paid too. And then I think that we go to old Tennessee alumni defensive end and pick up Pierce, and I think that we have a deadly combo on the edge rushers. That's my take.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. We could definitely talk of that here in a little bit. But just my thoughts on both of them. I really appreciate Duke Tobin sticking to his word. We talk so much about the Bengals organization saying one thing and doing another for so many years. And here they are, went out on national media during the combine and said, we're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And then a week later, Miles Garrett signs his deal to stay in Cleveland. And we all threw our hands up like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Right? Yes, absolutely. Should we have got both of these deals done last year? 100%. But he made on his word. He made Jamar the highest paid player. He kept Joe happy because he brought T back. Mind you, we also re-extended Mike Gesicki. So we've got 3 of Joe's 4 guys that he said that he wanted to bring back this year, which is what Nick was talking about, bringing back Trey Hendrickson. I think it's in the works. Everything that I keep reading and all the players that are coming out and saying 91's next, 91's next. Well, hey, look, I know we want it immediate. We live in an instant media reality with social media. Like, we want things now. We still got time, okay? There's still plenty of time before June 1st that we can get that deal done. Guys, do you have anything you want to add about Duke Tobin being good on his word?
I mean, I just think that, making sure that Joe's happy keeping him happy, especially not only on the offensive side, but also on the defensive side, because we need at least a mediocre to average defense. To, just a couple stops a game. With how high powered our offense is going to be, we need something on the defense that's going to be at least middle of the road. So I think the first step is Trey Hendrickson because consistently he's the best edge rusher in the league. But at the same token, we need someone to complement him on the other end, pick that up in the draft. And then going into linebackers, we need some linebackers that are willing to really bust some heads and make some tackles.
Josh?
Seems like we finally got a GM. I'm talking about Joe Burrow. You put some pressure on the ownership and you finally get some people paid. That's what it comes down to.
Well, I'm glad you said that because as Nick was talking, it ran through my mind because Nick and I were talking about it the other day. How much these deals mean and how much the Carson Palmer 3.0 was about to take effect on Cincinnati if these deals didn't get done. Because Carson was always very vocal about making sure that he had players and protection and all of these things, and the ownership never budged. I mean, really, the way they budged was, all right, we'll let you go. We traded him to the Raiders, and then we bring in Andy Dalton and AJ Green, which brought us 5 great years. But look, we made the playoffs. That was something that Carson only did once.
He also got rolled on too.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole and we'll let Casey pontificate on that, which I didn't bring up. If you're wondering why Casey's not here, his 60-day DL got extended because he got dysentery. So prayers out to him. I hope you get well, buddy. We'll see you on the next side.
He's out on the old Oregon Trail, trying to head west.
got lost in the Mississippi River.
Yeah, that's for all you people who are old enough to remember that game.
Yeah,
everybody else just don't even worry about it.
That's the only time I've been a doctor in my entire life.
That was what?
That's the only time I've ever been a doctor.
Oh man, what a game! What a game! All right, so moving right along, the remaining salary cap, guys. Just with the 2 deals done today, everyone's forecasting about $35 million left there. I know we talked about Trey. We've talked a little bit about the draft. I think with Trey taking $19.5 million, if he were to get in the ballpark of 29 to 30, that's another $11 million off the cap for us. That leaves you what did I say? 11 million off of 35, so that's 24 million that you can go out there and spend on other players. What's a key position outside of edge that you think that we need to target the rest of the free agency before the draft?
We need a
Josh,
strong safety. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Josh.
Josh?
I mean, I would say guard, but there's no one good left. All the guards are gone, so I mean, you kind of have to just go with safety. I mean, safety or corner. That's really just what it comes down to. Somebody that can cover. They didn't have anybody last season that could cover. It's the biggest hole on this team aside from guard.
Well, you both said safety, so I'm going to talk about that a minute, and I'll let Nick jump back in if he has another thought there. Freaking Geno Stone came in very strong in the last 5 games, which most of the defense did. However, are we going to get that consistency from Geno Stone this year? And if we do, cool. No harm, no foul. But I do agree with you both that I think safety needs to be something that we need to shop around for, or maybe go get Xavier Watts. Nick, what are your thoughts?
You might have noticed me looking around a little bit if you actually watch our podcast. I'm looking around for where the defense was the first, 3 quarters of the season. Anyways, But seriously, I think safety is our biggest need. Um, having a good, strong safety there. Um, I think that after that, I think linebacking crew is going to be our next biggest need, replacing Akeem Davis Gaither, any spot that he would have filled, as well as Pratt. I think that there's a lot of people that don't like Pratt. I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest with you. He's kind of middle of the road, in my opinion, with his day-to-day performance. I think that we could probably pick up a pretty good linebacker somewhere in free agency, if not, kind of late in the draft. Um, Really, I think the Bengals need to focus in the draft on offensive line. Somebody who they need to pick up at least two offensive linemen that can come in day one and play. I think that is their single biggest need on offense. Obviously, I mean we got P. Ryan back, we got uh, Chase Brown, so we got our backfield taken care of, and then we'll have Travion Williams because he'll never leave. Um, and then obviously we got our wide receivers taken care of, and quarterback. We got our two tackles, got the tight ends. We have our center, the guards. We need to protect our investments. You have to have protection on the investments. And then on top of that, you get into on defense. I mean, we got BJ Hill back. We got our defensive line. I think that we're going to be able to pick up someone decent, at least on a good rookie deal coming out of the draft, if not free agency after the draft. On D line, because there's going to be a whole bunch of D linemen coming out. So I think we'll be fine there. But I think the biggest need right now is going to be safety, then linebacker, especially in free agency.
So for me, I would take, like I said, my guy, Xavier Watts. That's the dude I would want to go get in the draft. He's a Notre Dame guy. You know how I feel about Notre Dame. He's an Al Golden guy who worked very well with him for over the last couple of seasons while he was there. Um, my focus is guard and linebacker. I think we need to get at least one guard in free agency, get the other guard in the draft, and then focus on linebackers. Because, I mean, yes, you're bringing Logan Wilson back. He had one of his more down seasons, if you will. We just didn't see him a whole lot. Pratt is probably going to be on the move within the coming weeks. If we decide to bring him back, cool. Like you said, Nick, he's an above average player. He can get it done at times. But the one thing that we talked about all the time, all season in our little Facebook chat that we have during games is the consistency on run defense. I think we addressed those issues, so I don't think interior line, bringing back BJ Hill, bringing in TJ Slayton, I think those got addressed. However, you got to have a full front 6 or 7 in order for you to be successful and be consistent. So I think you need to go get a good middle linebacker or an outside linebacker or like a Xavier Watts to come down and play if need be. So
I agree. To kind of build on the run defense part that you brought up, that's a very good point. I think that, if we're going to play to win a Super Bowl, we need to build a defense that can get stops on Philadelphia. I think that they're going to be the contender from the NFC that we're going to have to play against in the Super Bowl when we get there. So I think you need to build a defense to defeat them.
100%. Josh?
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, if you can stop the run, the back end can hold up hopefully well enough to where the offense is going to be unstoppable. I mean, ideally, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for an offense that's going to be unstoppable. And if it's not, then that's going to be money not very well spent. So, assuming that everybody that you spent the money on this year, you just need the defense to be middle of the road, be able to stop the run just enough times to get your offense enough time to put up some points. If you score 80% of the time touchdowns, you're going to win games. That's what it comes down to.
Most definitely. And I know we've talked about it before. Um, you know, what did we say? The 2021 season, we were at what, 17th on defense overall. Pretty good. Went to the Super Bowl with that because of Joe, Jamar, and the rest of the offense. I think if you can be above 17, and I know Mo, Edgar, and Paul Denner Jr. were talking about it earlier this week and a little bit last week. If you can be 17 or better on defense, not 28, not 29, not 30, not 31, not 32, I think you're going to win more games for one, and then obviously have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was that we've talked about safety specifically, but we haven't talked about is the outside. We haven't talked about the corners. We're getting healthy, and hopefully, we get CTB back as a premier All Pro, Pro Bowl, whatever term you want to use on the one, because apparently they're going to leave him at one. You got Dax Hill and DJ Turner competing on the other side, and the other one's going to play nickel. Again, you guys have heard me talk about it before, but I'm going to let you guys think who you want. Who do you want your 1-2 and your nickel to be?
I mean, CTB has the talent, he has the athleticism to be a number one. I think what it comes down to is going to be the scheme. And we're going to see, was it the talent or was it the scheme?
Mm,
This year is really what it's going to come down to. Al Golden, I think he has the chance to be a really good defensive coordinator in this league. Hopefully. I mean, he did a really good job in Notre Dame.
yeah,
And we're just hoping that he's going to come out and light it up this year. Throw out some things that are going to be very, hopefully, new. Hopefully, these guys are going to get it because they did not get it last year. They didn't get it like they did in 2021 when they made the Super Bowl. Maybe that was talent. Maybe it was scheme. We don't really know. We just know that it all kind of worked out that year, and they haven't really hit it since. I'm just hoping
for
that
sure.
this year we're going to see that the talent hopefully is going to be enough to match the scheme. And that's really what defense comes down to. You scheme for the talent you have, not for the talent you want.
For sure. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that CTB is definitely talented enough to be a the number one cornerback. I think that the number two and the nickel is going to be up for grabs. I think that there's going to be a solid competition for that, and I think that whoever earns it earns it. Um,
Sure.
and essentially, I think that Josh is on the right path when he's talking about the defensive scheme and the play calls that they run on defense. I think that we get away from the soft zone bullcrap unless we're in like a prevent defense looking to win like the last seconds of the game. Use that talent that we have, the bump and grind, use that. Be the hands-on cornerbacks that we have. Use the talent, use the physicality to our advantage. We're an AFC North football team, for God's sakes.
Right.
Use it, right? And then on top of that, I think that Al Golden, I do think that he's gonna have a great opportunity to come in with talent in the defensive backfield. But I think it's going to come down to coaching. I think it's going to be coming down to coaching and having the complete buy-in from everybody on that defense. And Al Golden needs to come in and be a leader day one as a coach, and then pick out the leaders that are going to be players. So those player leaders are going to be the biggest part. Those captains on the defense. Once you get those established and you have them being able to handle the little small stuff, and Golden not having to deal with all that, I think that that's when you have the chemistry, and I think that's when the defense is going to click.
Most definitely. The other thing I wanted to bring out is I think the corners are probably the most depth position we have on the entire roster because we only talked about three of them. We're going to be back with DJ Turner and Dax Hill healthy, but we have meaningful guys, DJ Ivy, Josh Newton, that we didn't even talk about today that got meaningful playing time last year because of those two injuries. And I think they're gonna compete in camp. I would not be surprised if one of those two DJ Ivy and Josh Turner ended up either getting the 2 or the nickel just because they worked that hard. But again, it's nice to have 5 guys that you can swap in and swap out at any given point in any game. So I don't know why you're laughing. Is it because of my hands? I'm animated, okay? I'm excited. It's only March 19th, and I'm so ready for season. So I'm also ready for the Reds. Hopefully, it's a better season there. All right, moving on. Next topic and last topic I wanted to discuss tonight is the national media's flip flop on the Bengals in the last 2 weeks. Last week was they don't have enough cap space. They don't have it. They're too cheap. They're not going to get it done. This, that, and the other. Bengals bash, Bengals bash, Bengals bash. Today, and really since the announcement of the signings, they've been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they spent all this money and they're trying to, oh my gosh, why would you spend that? Pick a side. Pick a side. That's what I have to say about that. I'll let you guys take it from there.
Well, they have picked a side. They picked a side against the Bengals every step of the way. I mean,
Good point.
if you look at when Joe Burrow was talking to Stephen A. Smith and whoever else was on the panel, I think it was Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was saying there's a way to get both of them signed. There's
And
a way.
Trey.
Yeah, and Trey. There's ways to get all of them signed. You know what they did? They laughed at him. They literally laughed in his face. You know what happened? They got 2 of the 3 signed.
Yeah.
They made Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. They did exactly what they said they were going to do to this point. They let Trey go out, test the market. And they're not going to trade him. They made it abundantly clear they're not going to trade him. They're doing exactly what they said they're going to do. And what do? They say, I think Stephen A. Smith said every cornerback in the league is going to be afraid of this team, even the cornerbacks on the Bengals, because they're not going to be able to afford anybody else. They always just pick a side that is against the Bengals. No matter what the Bengals do, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter. They're not the national media darling. And that's just what they're always going to be. And I think that's what the Bengals thrive on. That's what Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that's what the core of this team thrives on. They're not going to talk good about us. So we're going to go out and prove that we're the best. And I love every second of it.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree. You have to agree with it because the Bengals hardly ever get any good press whatsoever. Duke Tobin, Katie Blackburn, Mike Brown, they finally reached into their pocketbooks like we did last week and pulled out the money and just handed it over, right? Zach, obviously, all of us, we don't have that kind of money. I don't know if you could tell by, just looking at us, but still, at the same token, Mike Brown does. Katie Blackburn does have that money. And they obviously just worked it out for 2 very good players. And they're getting ready to probably fork out a little bit more money for another really good player. So the national media can go pound salt, forget what they're saying, listen to the people that have watched the Bengals and have been around the Bengals their whole lives. They have paid attention to everything that the Bengals have done, and they understand what the Bengals are all about. Mike Brown is finally paying good players. Finally. This is exactly what Jalen Hurts said with what the Philadelphia Eagles did for him. Joe Burrow asked for the same thing, and guess what? Mike Brown changed the tune and finally did it. He bit the bullet, and he's going to wind up making so much money he doesn't even know what to do with it. Because now he has 3 stars signed, 4-star incoming, and guess what? All those jersey sales, all those ticket prices, all the beer sales and food and, all of the revenue coming in because the Bengals are now getting national media. Now they're getting all of this talk time. right? Bengals are going to be a nationally known team, and people are going to be rooting for them across this nation because of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, and Mikey G.
All right, that concludes that. I'm going to take us home to our final thoughts. Nick, I'm going to let you go first.
Final thoughts. It's about darn time. That's it.
Josh?
Short and sweet. It's beautiful in Houday Nation. We love it now. It's about frickin' time.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us home. First, my final thoughts. Man, it's been a good week so far. Let's keep it coming. Appreciate the Blackburn and Brown family for at least giving us something happy to talk about for once. And if you don't follow us anywhere already, go ahead, go to our Facebook, our X, our TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads. Find us at Talkin_Bengals or at Talkin_Bengals. Like, follow, subscribe, share. We would love to grow our platform and our podcast. You can also check out our new Cincinnati t-shirt that just dropped on talkinbengals.com and our Etsy store. So head to talkinbengals.com to get your Cincinnati shirt. And with that, I bid you all adieu, good night, and hooday.
Houday, baby.
Houday!